Thanks to this new info, it seems the map size in this Spider-Man game is going to be very wild, and this has only been discovered this week. Now, we already had the teaser from Venom's voice actor about the map in this game, but now the actual map size, or so what it seems, has just been discovered by a fan as an Easter egg in the trailer that dropped last year, and it's very wild, especially considering things are about to get interesting for the news on this game. Now, if you can leave a like on this video, it helps a lot, so I'd really appreciate it. But if you actually get to the end of this video and you say, well, I didn't like the video, then feel free to turn your like into a dislike. But if you could drop a like right now, it would help a ton. Now, credit goes to 1400dig on Reddit for finding this. So in the trailer that dropped last year, there is graffiti on the wall when Peter and Miles are looking into the alleyway. Now, what it actually says is simply the numbers 718. Now, 718 is actually the area code for Brooklyn, Queens, and Staten Island. Now, what's even more wild is somebody commented, "This is a good catch. Queens or Brooklyn hood representation by area code graffiti wouldn't actually make much sense in Manhattan." And this person is right, but wait, there's more. If you want to dig a little deeper, in Miles Morales, of course you see the entire subway map. Now, you could say that this part is stretching a little, but why would 718 be in a trailer? And when you actually link all these things together, well, it does make sense. Now, it's also interesting that this news comes to light now, considering Tony Todd actually teased the map recently, saying how incredible it looks and how we should also be looking forward to 2024, which a lot of us are now speculating to be a Venom expansion. But check the video out in the description for more info on that. Now, of course, if we could swing into Queens and Brooklyn, this would be the best open world game ever, as somebody else also mentioned. Now, a few fans have actually been debating, saying how this wouldn't actually make sense due to how many buildings are in these areas in terms of just logically web swinging, but somebody else did make a good point, saying how considering the first game makes web swinging through Central Park just feel completely natural, I don't foresee this being an issue. And also the fact that the first game had shorter buildings, etc. Now, I also think this is the part where we may be overthinking web swinging a little, as at the end of the day, it is a video game, and the webs and what they were actually attached to was also a myth in the first Spider-Man game, and it's always been a myth, right? But as I say, it's a video game. But as far as implementing these areas into one map, this is where this breakdown of the situation that was given to somebody else actually makes this whole thing make sense. So another user on Reddit said the following: "They are probably going to heavily change what Queens actually looks like, making sure to include landmarks important to Spider-Man lore, and generally have it resemble the actual place, but just way smaller in diameter. Same for Brooklyn, that place is actually huge, at least as big as Manhattan is. Best case scenario is we might get a Queens and Brooklyn that are around equal in general size to Manhattan. I mean, hey, if they want to flex the PlayStation 5's power, that's one of the ways to go about it." Now, that does all make total sense, right? If they're going to implement these areas, it's not obviously going to be a situation where it's like, look how realistic we're making this map and look how big the actual map size is. We're solely going to be, I guess, looking at these things from an exploration point of view and actually shrinking down these areas whilst just giving, I guess, those key elements into the map as a whole would make total sense. Now, things are going to be a lot wilder with this game compared to the first one, because we know despite how good the first game was, quite a bit was missing in terms of the free roam aspect. Sure, it was extensive as much as it could be with, of course, the PlayStation 4 limitations, but I think considering we've had Miles Morales since then, and of course the game just getting some really wild PC mods, it would only be right that the console edition has that, well, I guess you could say increased replayability and or features added into the base version of the game to just increase that. Now, of course, we have the Game Awards this week, and when I'm making this video, or whenever you're watching it, it's either happened or it's tomorrow, and a lot of us are hoping to see something new. But what's interesting is I don't think they actually need these game events to drop news, simply because they can literally just post a tweet and the internet will just go nuts. But there's going to be another video later just breaking all of that stuff down. But going back to this map size and the whole 718 aspect of things, what's crazier is, and what really doesn't make sense, either it has happened and nobody actually spotted it, or somebody did spot it and they just never went onto social media to actually share it. But the fact that it's actually taken practically a whole year to actually find out this info, I guess it just leaves questions, because if you look at the timing with everything that's going on now with the news and with Tony Todd of course just releasing some info and really giving a lot of teasers, it's very interesting just how somebody has randomly seen, okay, well here's the numbers 718, and oh, 718 actually represent X, Y, and Z. So that's the crazy part for me, because as I say, the trailer's almost got like 30 million views. I know there's been tons and tons of people that have just rewatched it, me being one of them, and considering of course people were ultimately going to be looking for Easter eggs to begin with, it just blows my mind how this was never found. And what's even crazier is it almost makes you want to go back to that trailer in general and just dig as deep as you possibly can to see what else is hiding there. But I guess granted, the numbers 718 aren't exactly the clearest, and I guess clearly it's just being mistaken for general graffiti. Now one thing I do want to mention though is of course with the whole representation of these areas being in Manhattan and how it doesn't actually make sense, a lot of people were very much on the fence with that, saying that it could actually still make sense and that it may well just be nothing, because in certain places around the world I guess there could be that area code representation technically anywhere in like a complete different city, as long as it's ultimately in that country. So I guess there's that theory there, but when you kind of link everything that's going on, as well as the two characters, and of course being able to dig a lot deeper into these individual character stories, and also the fact that the PlayStation 5 console limitations are way higher than the PlayStation 4, it just really makes you wonder, okay, is this what we are really about to see? Is this what we are going to get? Are they really going to be digging deeper into how extensive this is, alongside the side missions in this game and where you can actually explore, as well as Easter eggs as a whole? That's something that we're going to just really have to sit back and wait to find out. But either way, even though this game for some weird reason didn't make the most anticipated game lists for the Game Awards, we all know this is by far one of the most anticipated, if not the most anticipated game for next year. So it's going to be interesting to see how things unravel now, because the heat has definitely been turned up, and it'll be very interesting to see if we can actually dig deeper into this trailer and maybe find something else, or maybe if that was just the one big Easter egg that was ultimately left to be found, and now we're going to get that brand new trailer or brand new gameplay. But as I say, things are going to get interesting. And also Insomniac Games have responded to a fan on Spider-Man 2 news on Twitter, and since a big drop of info given by the voice actor who actually teased 2024 is going to be big and how we should actually note it down, it seems like we are in for another big DLC as well for the game after it's been released, hopefully not too long, and it will ultimately solve the myth on if we play as Venom or not. So check that video out on screen right now.